we need to step back and actually slow down. We need to teach, young people and athletes and teenagers, it's okay to slow down, and you need to really understand what is important, what is not important, and who are the people that can help you balance you out. And because once you are stressed, you feel anxiety, you are depressed, it's always like, okay, it's too late already. Like now you need to act fast. I feel like we should try to work more towards how can we prevent it? How can we give the necessary tools the young generation now to not get into those positions where you are really, really overwhelmed and stressed, because you can find it in all sorts of sectors in life.
Ja. Mental Health is Body Health. Das ist dein Podcast, wenn es um mentale und körperliche Gesundheit geht. Ich spreche mit Personen des öffentlichen Lebens über ihre Erfahrungen, Herausforderungen, Erfolge und Karrieren. Du gewinnst wertvolle Erkenntnisse für dein eigenes Leben und erhältst Inspirationen durch die Einblicke in die Lebensgeschichte meiner Gäste.
Live podcast, Mental Health is Body Health.
Hi, everyone. It's a big pleasure and honor to have Mischa here next to me. Mischa, how are you?
Excellent, doing great. Had a busy last 24 hours traveling around Europe, but I'm happy to be here in Bochum.
Great. I have to say that Mischa was already a guest in my podcast, like 1 year ago, I think.
Roughly, yeah.
1.5 years. It was great, and I'm really happy that he's a guest again. So before we start, actually, mental health is not only in sports, but also in actors' business and in other business, a big issue topic, which is coming more and more. Before we deep dive in, we ask a lot of questions to Mischa. The most important thing is that you also can ask us anything afterwards. So just feel free to, just ask us whatever you like, and we try to do our best.
You can either keep the questions for later, or if there's a certain topic that's very interesting, I think you can raise your hand. You'll catch our attention, and then we can have a dynamic conversation about a very important topic, not only in sports, but I think in society, and especially in today's world of fast-moving everything, social media, whatever it is. So yeah, feel free to interrupt and join.
Of course. So if you just take a look back to your career, to your former career, maybe just describe it in 3 words. What is the most...
3 words. Adventurous, unpredictable, and fun.
Why fun?
Because in the end, when you look back, there were so many moments when I would travel to tournaments and I would tell my dad, I don't want to be here. I want to go home. It's terrible. We're staying at a terrible hotel, terrible place, terrible courts. I wasn't really homesick, but I just wanted to leave because it was not fun. And now you look back at those memories, and actually we ended up staying because my dad said, look, we can go home, but try to fight through and see if you'll do well. And actually, I won that tournament. And now looking back, all those memories that you had that were like maybe very negative at that time, they kind of shape you as a human being. And it's an experience, and it's something you can pass on to my kids now. They're 6 and 3 years old. And it's something that shapes you as a human being, because if it's too easy, it's not great. And, you need to have challenges. But again, you should choose them wisely, because too much suffering is also no good.
Yeah, you're totally right. Often it's not only in sports, just to explain it in a quite quick sentence, it's also in normal life. It's actually when you look back, when you think, oh, that was a really, really tough and hard time. But then you think, oh, that was maybe the most valuable time, the most funniest time, or maybe like it was worth it, actually.
We have so many stories with my friends. We're like, remember when we were 17, 18 years old, we're training so hard. That one guy was throwing up in the corner. The other guy had a heat stroke. He was like laying in bed for 2-3 days. He couldn't move. And it was really tough back then. But now we look back and said, those are really fun times. And it's almost like we miss them, because now as a tennis player, we travel like in first class, business class. We stay at 5-star hotels. But I feel like every human being enjoys going back to the roots and understanding how tough it's been back then. And you can actually really value. I think you need to have those experiences to actually value what you have now as a human being, as an athlete.
Of course. You already said your dad was a big player as well. And
I started with my grandma. So
yeah.
My mom's mother, she was, my roots are, I was born in Russia, actually in the Soviet Union back in the day. So my grandmother, the mom of my mom, was a Russian champion. then she gave birth to my mom when she was, I think, 17 or 18. Back then it was absolutely normal. Then my mom became the champion of the Soviet Union. My dad was champion of the Soviet Union. Then I was born, I played okay. I always have the least amount of talent in the family. My brother, as we all know, he plays quite well. My wife played tennis. My son plays tennis. I feel like our dogs play tennis. So it's really a family affair, but it's more than just tennis. So it was really fun. Sorry, this story goes on and on, but it was really interesting.
But maybe just an honest question. Was it like some kind of pressure for you?
It was never pressure to. I never felt like I have to play tennis. I wanted to play tennis because I grew up around the tennis court. But it wasn't. I wasn't just playing tennis. I would, after school, I'd come there and I would be surrounded by sports. We grew up in Hamburg. We had field hockey, so a big field hockey club. We had playgrounds. We had a soccer pitch. We had basketball. We had lots of kids. To me, it was an environment of joy. It was like a Disneyland for me, but like in a sports environment. So I really enjoyed just being there. And of course, I played tennis because I wanted to become like my dad, a great tennis player. But later on, I understood that when we moved from Russia, moved to Germany, we actually arrived, my parents told me like 400 or 600 Deutschmark, which is now like 300 euros in their pocket. They didn't speak the language and they had to start from scratch. And I understood as a very young child that if one day we want to live in different circumstances, meaning like have a nice house, I understood at age 7 or 8, I understood I would have to play well. So it was a weird pressure that I put on myself. My parents never told me you have to play well so that we can do something. But I understood that if I want to create change, it's going to be me. And that was also pressure that I put on myself.
Okay, I understand. And when we just take the word great, there are always great games and big games. I would just maybe have just tagged was like, for example, in 2009, when it was the first time you played like in quarterfinals against Spain for your German Davis Cup
team. Boy, I was so nervous.
Okay.
I was so nervous. It was terrifying. We played in Spain. I mean, playing in Spain already with Rafa Nadal and those guys, it's nerve-wracking. So we played in an arena where they have the bullfights. So you're in an arena with 10, 15,000 screaming Spanish people that just you feel like the bull is going to die in the end. Like, it was really terrifying and I was so nervous. But in the end now, looking back, I was like, I wish I could have done it more often because it was incredible.
You know what I'm just asking myself? Is it like the best game when everyone is against you? Because often often in football games when the stadium is full, everything is sold out.
Yeah.
Many players are saying that was the best game because everyone is against me.
No, I don't. I can't say that. I think the best game is when you have a great atmosphere because Davis Cup can be very hostile, but no, like beating Andy Murray in Australia, it was just a great atmosphere. They were actually kind of cheering for me as well because I was the underdog. But honestly, when you're on courts, you don't hear anything, you don't see anything. I mean, there's 12, 13, 14,000 people watching and screaming. I cannot remember anything. All I remember was certain points, certain shots. And I played Wimbledon Center Court, the most historical court ever. I do not remember walking from the locker room onto the court and back. I have no idea how to get there. And because you're so much in the zone that you forget everything, you just you pass out kind of and just focus on that moment.
But is this actually also the key that you're focusing to win those games or to play those games?
If you're capable of finding that flow moment or state of mind that you need where you, my old physio used to tell me like, you're super relaxed but super focused at the same time. You see everything and nothing at the same time. And when you're in that state of mind, like it's so much fun because you play the game and it feels effortless. You see the ball and travels in slow motion. You have you're under pressure, but you feel like you have so much time to think and calculate and everything just you're flowing. And it's not easy to find it, but once you do, it's I guess the best feeling you can have as an athlete.
And you're also forgetting the time during the game because like tennis games, like maybe 5 hours,
yes,
6 hours.
Watching 5 hours is painful. Like it's really painful. Like you're watching for 5 hours, you just sit there and like at one point like, oh my God, like we have 3 more hours to go. But when you play, it's like, 10 minutes. You don't really realize it. Same with temperatures and heat. Like when you're sitting, the heat is much worse than when you're playing until you actually almost pass out. Then you start realizing it was pretty hot.
In what kind of like time period during a game you're thinking, okay, wow, now I'm like into it,
Yeah.
or no, I'm not?
So in the beginning of my career, I was afraid of 5-set matches. I was physically weak and therefore mentally weak. And I would warm up. During the warm up, before we even start playing, I was thinking to myself, how am I going to last for 3 sets? How am I going to last for 5 sets? There's no chance. Like, and we played 2-3 games. It feels like 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, we have to do this like for another 3 hours. I'm going to die on court. Later on, it was almost like, okay, give me those 3-4 hour matches because I know I'm stronger than the other guy. I'm physically stronger, I'm mentally stronger, and I'm going to destroy him. But in a healthy way, obviously not in a, aggressive, bad way, but like I can do it. So there's very different approaches. You can be mentally strong when you're also physically strong. It's tough to be physically weak, but then, kind of bluff your way around it. So your whole preparation has to work towards it.
So would you say like this mental health and also mental strength is like these quite little nuanced in big sports?
I say, especially with teenagers, with professionals, with my kids, it starts with those little decisions. As an athlete, I think everyone can relate. What time do I wake up? Actually, what time do I go to bed? What time do I wake up? What do I have for breakfast? How is my preparation? What shoes do I put on? What clothes do I put on? And in terms of like for performance, those little decisions give you confidence that when you face a big decision, you know what to do. You're gonna do the right thing, and you will believe in yourself, and you'll have confidence. It's very difficult to have the worst preparation, do everything wrong, and then once you face match point, Grand Slam final, that you're gonna, do the right thing, because it doesn't happen like that. Unless you're a genius or you're bipolar, you can maybe work around it. But usually the mental aspect, it comes by taking right decisions, and then it helps you to become also mentally confident. You're stronger, and also you're more calm. When you face a tough situation, you don't freak out because you can rely on a lot of good decision making from the past that's going to help you in the future as well.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about like players who are really like successful for 15, 20, 25. Not only like tennis, but also other players, and also people who are in sports business, so like 25 years, really, really successful. What are those people making special? Is it like this thing you've mentioned already, like doing small decisions, turning into a big thing?
You can call them geniuses, you can call them crazy. Sometimes we call them crazy or geniuses, or one thing's for sure, they're very passionate. They're very passionate because if you want to be successful over 10, 15 years, like Roger Federer, Rafa Nadal, you need one thing, that's talent, that's for sure. If you don't have the skill, there's no way around it. Then you need to have the passion so that you can become very disciplined about it. You need to work hard, train hard, but you need to really, really love the game. And if you do that, it's not work anymore. It's fun. It's something, it's like in the end, tennis is a game. Look at us. Each of us has a racket in their hand. We have a tennis ball, so we hit the ball and run around and call the ball out or in. It's a game. In society, it's a big sport. It has a lot of attention. But if you kind of remember that in the end, you're playing a game and it's about enjoying it and becoming better and beating your opponent and going out there, then you're able to have a long career. The moment it becomes work, or the moment you feel like you need to satisfy the media, the coaches, sometimes parents' expectations, then it becomes very stressful. And I've seen, players in the past, let's say, I think Bjorn Borg is maybe a good example. He quit tennis when he was 27. Guys now, they start playing tennis at 27. Novak Djokovic, he's 38 years old, and he doesn't want to quit because he loves it. He loves every single part of it. And I think this is the most important. Obviously, you need skill. I mean, Roger Federer, if you compare him to anyone else, actually you cannot compare him to anyone else, because the skill he has, you cannot explain it. And sometimes we have in our sport, people say like, everybody hits the ball the same way. I'm like, no, they don't. Like Rafa Nadal, Roger Federer, they do not hit the ball the same way. They're on a different planet. But also the work ethic and everything that comes with it is phenomenal. But I like to judge people not by their final result. I like to judge people by their capability of reaching their potential. If your potential is to be number 100 in the world in soccer and you become number 99, let's say if there was a ranking, number 100, this is great, this is incredible. But if your potential is to be top 10 in the world and you are number 500, which is still okay, you're awful. So this is how I like to judge people, by their capabilities, their potential, and what they do with it. And there you see all different people, whether it's sports, business. I think it's very important to understand, to be rational, but really understand what are you capable of doing and trying to maximize your potential.
We've talked about potential, and how do you find out what is your potential?
You need to be rational. I think growing up in today's world is very difficult. I always say with those athletes, guys, I think becoming an adult is very complicated on its own. In today's world, if you're a little bit famous and you have some money, you have social media, you have people, you have, girls, guys, boys, you have all the attention. It's very hard to actually think rationally and have people around you that can actually tell you the truth. So, and I think when growing up, it's very important that you have a very solid structure, parents, family, really close friends, good friends, and people that you look up to that can be honest when they speak to you. And I think when you look at sports, of course, there's exceptions. Someone in tennis who was never good as a junior became top 10 in the world later on. There's exceptions, but normally, I think like in any sport, at age 14, 15, 16, 17, you kind of understand what is your limitation, what is your stats, you have all the other data. So I think you can grow up, and if you learn how to, still chase your dreams, work hard, but also understand, if I now at 37 want to become a 100-meter runner, people look at me like, it's not going to work out. Like, you can have other dreams, And I think having the right people around you is very, very helpful and helps you to get a good understanding of common sense.
Mm. Did you have like a hero, like a role model in your younger times? For example, when it's like, let's say in age of 15, 16, when it was like in between of becoming professional, starting in those careers, just saying, okay, is tennis my sport, or is it like more in going in other directions? Was there like a person who was under the sky, I don't know, just saying, hi, Mischa, now come to me, let's go for professional tennis player?
No, I always knew I was going to become a professional tennis player. I was just, again, the rational part of me, I was making sure I have a plan B and C. And I knew I was going to stay in sports, because nowadays I think you can do many things in sports. You can become a coach, an agent, a manager, a scout. You can work in marketing. There's many different ways. So I think it's not just your top 100 in tennis, or let's say your Bundesliga soccer, or nothing. There's many different ways. And I was making sure that I have those bases covered. I know what I'm going to do in case it doesn't work out. And there was actually one person. He wasn't a role model, but he was someone that had a lot of wisdom. And he told me one thing. He's like, when you walk through life, make sure all your senses are wide open. You see everything, you hear everything, you smell, you taste, because life gives you little indications, and you have to read those signs carefully, and then you're going to find the right path. So he was more like someone that really helped me.
Cool. Nice to hear that. And you've talked about like those tournaments, traveling around, sleeping in 5-star hotels later on. In the beginning, no, for sure.
It was
Yeah, just traveling with like the most comfort you can have afterwards. There were like maybe steps, like getting to those traveling parts. But was it also like for your tournament, for you, like in steps, thinking about, okay, now we've just reached the next round, the next stage, now we've just make a step, traveling to another hotel, or maybe just move the location. How was it for you, like in this kind of period, like a tournament? Were there like, how you can say, like stages, like episodes?
I started traveling when I was 12 years old. So the first tournaments were locally, then we went like to southern Germany, then we went to a different country when I was, I think, 13. So traveling to me now is like part of my DNA. It's like waking up in the morning, brushing your teeth. You don't think about, okay, do I do it with my left or right hand? Like you just do it. It's something natural. So when I'm home for more than 1 week, I don't get like homesick, whatever you call it. But I'm ready to go again. It's part of my DNA. So I think in tennis you have this milestone top 100. Once you're top 100, you make good money. Meaning you can survive and you know what you can do 12 months from now, 24 months from now. So the goal was always like, you need to get there. you reach a milestone, and then at least you have a good financial background to make sure that you don't need to look for a plan B in the next 12 to 14 months. But to me, it was something very, very natural. And by the age of 18, well, I think by the age of 16, I was booking travel across the globe. I was booking hotel tickets, Airbnb, all that stuff for the whole family in Australia. I was taking care of visa applications. I was already like a little travel agency, like a one-man show that's taking care of everything that needs to be taken care of. I was connecting to tournament directors. I was requesting practice courts, balls, all that stuff. And I felt like by the age of 18, 19, I was almost like running a little business. And the business was called, being a professional tennis player. Because my dad, his English is very poor still. My mom, same thing. Their German is okay. But so basically, I was the one organizing everything. And that, when I tell people, that's also some sort of an education. Like, you get to know different cultures, different philosophies. It's also very like, it's worth a lot. So I never felt like there's different stages. I just, when you get to a nice hotel, you're like, it's a nice hotel, like it's a nice swimming pool. It's a great breakfast buffet. You just appreciate it because you know where you came from. But I never felt like, okay, there's like a different stage or level.
Okay. But there's sometimes like, not only for you, but some other people like working in your stuff, mental breakdowns, like really hard things. Like when, for example, there's a tournament and I often see it's like Australian Open, French Open, and so on.
There is, like, I think in every world or in every like human life, there's tough situations, whether you're an athlete, whether you work somewhere, as a husband, sometimes as a father. We face difficult situations all the time. And tennis is quite unique. Even if you're good, you kind of lose almost every week. So every week you have to deal with those negative emotions. Every week you have to deal with losses and basically questioning yourself, and whether it's on different levels, because someone who's ranked 80 wants to become 70, someone who's ranked number 2 wants to become number 1. The emotions don't change because it's just the numbers change. A loss is painful. Ask my son, he's 6 years old. He lost to me in playing Uno cards. He just was as devastated as someone else losing in a big match, because I feel like human emotions are they're the same. It's just we give certain activities different level of importances. And tennis is not easy because you travel a lot. A lot of times you're alone quite a lot, and you have to deal with losses on a almost weekly basis. And even in practice, you play practice sets, you lose a lot of times. So it's not easy, but you learn how to cope with it.
Just a quick fun question. Is it also possible for you to play like a normal person in the garden? And not only to win, just say, for example...
Just to train, or just to play?
Let's just train.
Yeah, I mean, I do, but deep down, I want to play points.
Okay.
Deep down, like I train for, 10, 15, 30, 40 minutes, but I'm like, okay, let's play points, because I think the essence of tennis is like you want to compete against someone. So
and you count your inner like 15, 30, 40.
All the time. You count points, you win, you want to win the next point. So you're always challenging the opponent, you're challenging yourself, you're competing. So I think you need to be a good competitor, like, all the time. But I think it's the same in business. You go from one project to the next. You want to grow. You want to see how can you expand your company, your division. How can you create bigger sales? I think it's a constant progress, which is good, but also dangerous, because you need to also be able to come down and be happy with what you have and slow down. So finding the contrast, the balance is I think key. That's why having family was very important to me. I took kind of like a break from tennis when I was 22 years old. I reached my peak. I was 45 in the world. I was playing great. I was playing Roger Federer in the quarters of Rome. I was there. And I somehow felt like I need to understand who I am. I need to take a break so that I don't have to do it later on in life when I'm 30, maybe 40 years old. And for a couple of years, I played awful tennis. I got a couple injuries. And then when I came back at age 20, 27, 28, that's when I played my best tennis. And I was the most balanced, the most satisfied, the most happy person out there, even though I never smiled, but still inside I was very, very happy and content. So I needed that for myself. And I feel like a lot of players, sometimes athletes, they don't do it. And then they find themselves at age 30, 35, and they feel a little bit lost. And then they start to kind of discover, themselves later on in life. And unfortunately, sometimes it happens when they're married with 3 kids, 4 kids, and then you see like all those different situations, which are very, very complicated. So I told myself, I want to do all that before I reach those later stages in life.
But often in other sport activities, I see it like when you're professional, for example, in football, because in my opinion, maybe you can talk to that afterwards. In football, for example, it's like more routined, more like rituals, because often when I said like football teams, they have 10 a.m. it's breakfast. Okay, maybe it's too late already, but 9 a.m. it's breakfast, 10 a.m. it's like activation,
Yeah.
12 it's lunch, and afterwards we have like playing Uno cards, like just but this is in tennis, is it the same way that you have like these routines and it's like packed?
Yes and no. So I know that 5 years from now, we're going to be playing a certain tournament because the calendar doesn't change. We start in Australia, and then it's like other tournaments, and we have French Open, Wimbledon, and so on. That we know. But if someone asks me, can you get on a conference phone call after tomorrow at 10 a.m.? I say, I have no idea. Because I could be in one place, I could be in a different country, I could be in a different continent. I don't know. Because when you play, if you win, you stay. If you lose, you travel to the next tournament. You don't know if you're going to play 11 a.m. or 11 p.m.
Yeah.
So the daily routine is always unpredictable. Overall, we do know where we're going to play unless we get hurt, unless our ranking drops. I think as part of a team, you have those big competitions, Olympic Games every 4 years. You know what you're training for. It's a bit more structured. And also you come back home after each competition. Sometimes I get on the road and I'm away for 7 weeks. So for 7 weeks, I don't sleep at home. Last year, I counted the days in the first 11 months of the year. I slept at home 76 nights. So I was home for roughly 2.5 months and I was gone for 8.5 months. And that obviously is not easy. You need to really, really love it. And that, I think tennis is very unique.
When was your decision to end your former career? Was there this one
I
decision?
officially never ended it. I never retired officially. I just, I got married, became a father, then became an agent of my brother. Then I got hurt a couple times. So then I just kind of went down the slope, like ranking wise, but I still haven't quit. So one day maybe I want to come back and play some doubles with my brother at some tournaments. And I feel like I haven't officially quit yet, but because I think once you're a tennis player, you're always a tennis player. Just the way you make your living is different.
Would you say in general that tennis is one of the most intense sport activities or professional parts for mental health?
It's hard to judge because I haven't done other sports, so I cannot say, look, it's harder or easier. Tennis has its challenges. I think so do other sports have. But like I was mentioning it, you lose almost every week. You travel a lot. A lot of times you're away from family. You're away from, your partner, your girlfriend, your parents. And you do also have the pressure that, if let's say you're in football, you have a contract, you know what you're making next week. Next week, we could be making, we could be going minus 50,000 or making plus 500,000. You never know. So there's a lot of stress that you can face, but you need to be able to kind of not think about it. That's why you build a team that focuses on all that stuff, on your training, on your financial. You have an agent, you have an advisor. So you try to end up playing tennis and enjoying the game. So, there's pros and cons, but I would say tennis is quite challenging. But again, there's many other sports that they're very, very challenging too. But like I was also saying, many just situations in life can be even more challenging, and that's why in life everything is relative. So I want to always have some sort of, balanced view on it.
Do you think that this great, big, and also heavy topic, mental health, should be discovered more and more in like this official way? Like, for example, Simone Biles, she said, okay, I will just make a pause as well because of mental health, because of mental issues. And not only she, but also in football, sometimes they say, okay, we just make a pause, as you already mentioned. Should it be like more and more getting into?
I think one thing is recognizing when it's time to take a break and recognizing when you need maybe some assistance and help. The other thing is trying to prevent it. Yeah. And in today's society, if we look at, marketing and commercials and social media, everything is super fast. Like it's the next trend. It's the next big thing. You always feel, as a consumer, I always feel like I'm behind. I'm always late. I'm always catching up onto something. I'm always a step behind when it comes to AI. I'm a step behind when it comes to training methods. Oh, there was new recovery method. So it gives you this sort of feeling that you always feel anxious. There's always some sort of anxiety. And I always try to say, look, we need to step back and actually slow down. We need to teach, young people and athletes and teenagers, it's okay to slow down, and you need to really understand what is important, what is not important, and who are the people that can help you balance you out. And because once you are stressed, you feel anxiety, you are depressed, it's always like, okay, it's too late already. Like now you need to act fast. I feel like we should try to work more towards how can we prevent it? How can we give the necessary tools the young generation now to not get into those positions where you are really, really overwhelmed and stressed, because you can find it in all sorts of sectors in life.
Yeah, it's an important thing. You said like young athletes. So you say that you just have to talk to younger people, younger athletes, what is coming.
Mentor them. I feel like they need more guidance. Don't tell them what to do. And also this one gentleman told me back in the day, you don't need to tell them what is right and what is wrong. You need to tell them, how can you find the answer? Like, how can you make the right decision? Basically give them the tools. So I feel like mentoring the young generation is very, very important. Not just tell them, do this, don't do that. They need to find it out on their own. I think Italy is a great example in tennis right now. A lot of former great players are now working with the young generation just to kind of guide them. It's great help. And I think it's very, very important, because we should and we shouldn't grow up too fast, because everything is already way too fast these days.
Yes. If you have one wish for your life, it may be in tennis, business, and
For myself or
for you, yeah, for yourself.
Oh, for myself, I think enjoy and be happy with the people that we really, really care about. And I always try to tell myself, spend energy on the things that you can change or you have an influence on. And all the other things, just try to avoid them and not worry about it. But I think when it comes to athletes and the world today in general, we should not forget what's really, really important in life. Sometimes it's winning a game, it's winning a race, whatever it is, but there's also other things that are very, very important. And I think we need to learn how to balance things a little bit better, because I feel like in today's world, some people really forget what's really, really important.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, this is the point, yeah. Sometimes we ask maybe ourselves if you could turn back timing. We don't want to say if you could turn back time, you would be like the first position in world rankings.
Yeah.
But let's talk maybe if sometimes there are turning points. Let's say turning points. Is there one turning point that you say sometimes, okay, if I would have won this game, there would be like another position, another standing, another strength?
No, I think it has something to do with where you are right now. Maybe if you're not really satisfied, then you look back. But right now, I don't want to brag about it, and normally people can't tell whether I'm happy or not happy. There's actually a funny story. Every time I come back from a long trip, I come home, kids are asleep, I sit with my wife, we're watching TV, drinking tea. And sometimes I wouldn't say a word for 30 minutes and I wouldn't smile, just sit, like look outside, watch TV. And in the beginning, she was like, is everything okay with you? I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. Now, when I do this, she says, are you really, really happy right now? I'm like, yes, I'm really, really happy right now, because I enjoy it and I don't need to express it in a way, because I'm really content with where I am right now. And this is how I feel in life. I have a nice family. I'm still traveling with my brother, with my mom, with my dad. My son is coming with me to Wimbledon. He's enjoying it. I'm playing tennis with him on those courts, which actually means a lot to me. So I'm really happy with this. So that's why I wouldn't go back, because if you go back, you change one thing, but then, it changed the whole outcome of how things are right now. But if I look at society, I always question that we're somehow capable of flying to Mars, but we're not capable of, providing clean water, drinking water and food to a lot of people out there. And this is what sometimes I feel like is wrong. And it is what it is. Life is also very unfair, and you have to do the most to help yourself and your people. But I think if we're looking forward, then this is something we should try to work on.
Of course.
Yeah.
If you would like to,
If there's questions out there, yeah. Or if you speak loudly, you can.
Thanks, guys, for this nice talk. My name is Kim. I'm a PhD candidate from the University of Mainz. And I'm interested in your thoughts during the breaks, like on site, on court, sitting on the bench between games or sets. Do you have a strategy, or maybe you know about Sasha, how to keep positive, or maybe you want to use the break to think about something different? Because there's actually this one famous clip about Tommy Haas. He's like, why am I doing this?
Talking to himself.
We didn't go to the net, like, what is it all about? But the last two sentences was like, let's go, Tommy, you can do it. Like, do you have a certain strategy on how to think, how to behave during the break?
Everybody is different. You have Iga Swiatek or like other champions that had a notebook. You have people that focus on breathing. You have many different things. A lot of people look at their coaches or family members. They try to communicate. They try to take energy and maybe give some of their anxiety to the, like exchange positive energy. What really worked for me is, and that's kind of like my life motto, I was focusing on my next decision. What is it I'm going to do next? Because when you're nervous, your brain functions in a very funny way. When you're nervous in tennis, for example, you can get nervous half a second before you make contact with the point. And that moment, you don't have time to do anything. You're nervous and that's it. But if I give myself a task, and it's basically like I try to manipulate my brain. If I give myself a task, if I want to pick up the bottle, I focus on reaching and picking up the bottle. The chances I'm going to be thinking about something that's behind me, I think, are very slim. But if I just sit there and I have nothing to do, my brain starts to work. When I start to think, I start to question, I start to doubt. What if not? So I always tell people, and even my brother, but again, it was a focus on the next big thing or next little thing that you can influence. That's why I always say, try to focus on the thing you can influence. Everything else is out of your control. And that's when I won my biggest match in my life. Actually, I have only 2 records over my brother. He's a much better player than I am. He won more titles, more wins. But there's 2 things I did that he hasn't done yet. Is I won a tournament on grass, okay? And I beat a world number 1 in the Grand Slam. So when I beat Andy Murray, he was world number 1. I understood I was nervous. He's good. The chances of me winning are very slim. And I was getting closer and closer. So all I did, I was just focusing on what can I do next? And I was focusing on expressing my positive energy to show him that I'm not afraid. But again, it was a task. All I did was just think about it. I didn't look at my box. I didn't look at my coach, my dad, and no one. I didn't see the stadium. I was just thinking, what can I do in the next moments to win, to compete, to not get nervous? And that helped me a lot. But I also worked with the mental trainers, performance trainers. I know the tapping exercises, breathing exercises, how can you control thoughts and all that. It didn't work for me. My thing is the next moment, like how I'm gonna, and when I sit there during the changeover, I occupy myself. I take a bottle, I put electrolytes in a bottle. I take and I get a new wristband. I prepare my racket. So I do a lot of little things that help me to overcome the moment where I just sit there and I have time to get nervous. And you can see when people sit there, they move, and suddenly they need one more game to win the match, and they sit there and they stare at one point, and you understand, okay, they're gone. Their mind is gone. They think about the trophy. They think about, what if I lose? And then you can see they're like in this shock moment. Then they stand up and they walk, but you feel like they start walking slower. They're like almost tripping over their feet. They're very hesitant. And that's, as an opponent, that's when you see, okay, now I can break them. So, yeah.
Good question. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, hello, my name is Daniel. I was a sustainability journalist for Forum Nachhaltig Wirtschaften. And I think you already brought up this topic of, okay, when you want to be a top 10 player, or, okay, you had this turning point, then you focus more on family. I think this already shows by well that there are places that you can decide if you want to go to a tournament or not, and know the price that you have to pay for this. Therefore, I would love to know, how do you decide when to prioritize career, when to prioritize family, and these different decisions that you have to take in your everyday life?
Right now, or back in
Now, back in the days, because I mean, every tournament, every time you have to decide for an interview for these conferences here,
Yeah.
it's always a decision.
So as a young player, you just want to, become great at what you do. So you normally listen to coaches and mentors. You don't know if you're going to be great at age 12, 13, 14, but at age, I think 16, you start to understand if you're in part of the group that's very good, you're like, okay, I have good chances, and what do I need to do? And then later on, you have to rely on the people that are around you. They kind of guide you. And right now, I have a clear goal. I know what my job is in the end, and my goal is to spend actually time with my family. I don't want to just work. I want to actually spend time with my family. I want to make sure I don't miss birthdays. My son's 6 years old. I missed 4 of his birthdays because he was born during the US Open. So that means I have to go to the US Open. He stays there. This year, I take him with me. So my priority is my family right now, and I structure my life around it so that I can make sure that maybe a couple years from now, I have the luxury to be able to spend more time with them. And everything I do, I think about them first. But everybody has to understand, what is it that they truly want. If you really want to become world number 1, then that's your priority. If you really want to become something else, an artist, musician, that's your priority. But at one point, it was very clear to me, I want to become a father and a husband. That was my priority. I understand another quote. Someone asked me, you love tennis? I said, yeah. Can tennis love you back? I'm like, I don't know. Tennis can give me trophies, can give me maybe some luxury. But in the end, a relationship with your son, with your child, with your wife, it's worth a lot more. And when I'm done being a professional athlete at 35, I have hopefully another 35, 40 years to live. And this is what my main priority is. And that's why I wanted to be good at tennis, but it was never my main priority.
Thanks a lot. If there are other questions, maybe you can ask Mischa. Just one last question afterwards. If there are some more questions, we can do.
Do we have time pressure? Okay, we do have
One more.
always
one
time
more.
pressure.
Yeah, thank you again for your authentic talk. I'd like to know, you said you felt the pressure when you were 7 years old, that but there would be maybe the possibility to earn money with tennis and so on.
To change the way we live, yes.
And I like to know, because you appear to speak very openly, and this is it's very great. But have you done this at what age, or did you share this pressure that was on you with summer, or did you just make it up on your own?
I think as a child, you feel a lot, but you don't understand what is it that you feel. An example, when parents, mom and dad are having some tension, as a child you feel it, but you don't understand what it is. When you have all those different emotions. So when I was starting 16, 17, 18, this one gentleman told me, like, live with your senses wide open. I paid a lot of attention on, who am I? Where did I come from? And why am I the way I am? And therefore, I look back a lot. I tried to reflect. And the pressure that I felt was not because my parents told me that you need to play well so that we can live a different life. They never said anything because they're actually very, very content. My dad and my mom, the way they live now hasn't changed in the last 20 years, even though now my brother is more successful. There's incredible stories where, my dad, when it comes to finances, he's exactly the same way he was 20 years ago. He would sometimes not park the car because it would cost €1.50. He would park 200 meters away because it was free. I'm like, Dad, it's €1.50. It's okay. He's like, no, I don't want to. So they never told me that way, but they came from the Soviet Union. We had no money. They never said we have no money, but you feel it, that we're careful with it. So I felt like I want to say thank you to my parents. I want to give them what they deserve. And I felt like I was able, it wasn't my responsibility, but I was able to say thank you to them and make sure that we have a nice place to live. We have, a nice house or apartment, whatever. We can go on vacation. And I was very thankful for what they did to me. And I felt like I could do it. And that was the pressure I put on myself. When my brother was born and he started playing tennis, I felt like it was my responsibility to make sure he can play tournaments. So when I was playing, I was helping him, obviously, that, my parents are asking, look, is it okay if we travel to a tournament because it's going to cost money? I say, of course, like, please, I want him to go travel and play. You want to go to Florida, or you need go to Florida. Like we need to go to Australia for the Australian Open. Let's go to Australia. I felt like it was my responsibility, even though no one told me. So it was my responsibility to make sure that we can do it together. And reflecting years and years and years, I accepted it. It was fine, and I can talk openly about it, and it's absolutely fine. But back then, you feel those things, and you're not really sure why you feel them, and sometimes it's stressful. But that's why I say you need a mentor. You need someone next to you who can guide you through that way.
Okay, great. Without making pressure, but we have to look at the time.
Fast moving world.
One last question because of pressure. Without making any pressure, when is your son winning Wimbledon?
So he actually said something funny last year when my brother lost at the French Open final against Alcaraz. He was 5 years old back then, and he came to me after the final. He said, "Dad, don't be sad. Like, if Sasha doesn't win it, I'm gonna win it. I'm gonna win it. Like, don't worry. We're gonna have a Grand Slam." So I'm actually like as a father, it makes me happy to hear it. I'm very, very proud of it because tennis is kind of like what we love. And if my son says, "Look, I want to become a tennis player like you," it makes me very happy. Like he sits at home, watches dinner, and my wife calls me like, "Look, he's watching your matches against Roger Federer and Andy Murray," and that makes me actually very emotional. So yeah, it's you don't know, but it's gonna be fun.
We are waiting.
Yeah, there's time pressure, I know.
Thanks a lot, Mischa.
Thank
It
you.
was really, really nice talking to you.